All right, everyone ready for this? We are going deep, deep, deep into the most talked about Netflix shows of 2024.
So far?
That's right. So far. Think of us as your shortcut to finding that next show you just can't stop watching.
No endless scrolling required.
Exactly. We're basing this deep dive on, well, a YouTube countdown from 5% Entertainment. And let me tell you, this list, well, it's got it all. Sci-fi mysteries,
Thrifty thrillers.
heartwarming romances, even a little bit of horror, too.
It's amazing, isn't it, to see such a range of genres and countries all represented. We're talking South Korea,
The UK, really every corner of the world.
each bringing its own flavor, its own unique perspective. It really highlights the global landscape of television these days.
It really does. And I think you'll be surprised by some of the shows that made the cut. Some might already be on your radar. Others, well, they could be those hidden gems you haven't even heard of yet. So let's just jump right in, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, at the very top, sitting pretty as Netflix's most watched show of 2024 so far, that would be Three Body Problem.
Fascinating choice. Based on a Chinese sci-fi novel,
And get this.
banned in China.
Yeah, banned.
It's quite a challenging premise, you see. It asks what would happen if humanity actually encountered an alien civilization.
And not just any aliens. These are from a star system with, wait for it, 3 suns.
Imagine the implications for physics, for our whole understanding of the universe as we know it.
Mind-blowing, right. But what got it banned, though, was how it portrayed the Cultural Revolution, a very sensitive period in China's history.
The government deemed it historically inaccurate. Some argue, however, that it's more about, well, controlling the narrative.
Wow, talk about a show that's sparking conversations both on and off the screen, huh? All right, let's switch gears a little bit. We're going from sci-fi to a completely different genre with number 9.
Fool me once.
Yes. Now, if you're a fan of twisty thrillers, the kind that keep you guessing right up until the very end.
This one's for you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, picture this. You've got a grieving wife, starts seeing her husband, who was supposedly murdered, on her nanny cam.
It plays with the unreliable narrator trope, doesn't it? You constantly find yourself questioning what's real and what isn't.
Oh, for sure. It blurs those lines between truth and deception, and that suspicious nanny cam footage. Well, that just throws a whole new wrench into the investigation. Then it gets even wilder, because this whole thing leads her to uncover all these family secrets. And wouldn't you know it, the gun used in her sister's murder is linked to her husband's supposed death. Talk about tangled.
A tangled web indeed.
Which leads us perfectly to number 8, Avatar, The Last Airbender. This live-action adaptation of the animated series, I mean, it had some serious expectations to live up to. Fans have been, well, waiting for this for years.
The stakes were undeniably high, and the early reviews are, let's say, mixed. Some praise the casting and the visual effects,
Especially how they brought those bending elements to life.
but others feel it lacks that heart and humor of the original.
It's definitely sparking debate, though, and that's always a good sign.
Right.
Shows that people care about these characters and this world.
Absolutely. And Netflix has already greenlit seasons 2 and 3, so they clearly have faith in it.
For sure, for sure. Now, for those who prefer something a little darker, a little more psychologically intense, Baby Reindeer at number 7 might be your cup of tea. What do you think?
Oh, it's a miniseries, Ari. Based on a true story about a writer who becomes, well, the target of a stalker. It's a slow burn, but the performances, they are absolutely chilling. Baby Reindeer taps into those primal fears we have, fears of vulnerability.
And having your privacy violated, it's like a reminder that sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones who look just like us.
Exactly.
Okay, let's take a trek over to South Korea for number 6, Parasite, The Gray. Now, folks, I'm warning you, this one is not for the faint of heart. So if you love the Oscar-winning film Parasite, buckle up. Get ready for a whole new level of creepy.
It's a live-action adaptation of a classic Japanese manga series,
We're talking alien parasites, body horror.
and humanity teetering on the brink of collapse.
It's a lot. Parasite, The Gray, takes that social commentary from the film and injects it with, well, a hefty dose of sci-fi horror.
The parasites in this show, they aren't just mindless creatures. They represent the fears and anxieties of a society grappling with inequality and exploitation. It's pretty visceral.
Yeah, and thought-provoking. It makes you think about what it means to be human in a world that feels increasingly, well, dehumanizing. It's so fascinating, isn't it? This wave of international content. It's not just about entertainment.
It's about offering those different perspectives, challenging how we see the world.
Exactly. And it's interesting, both The Last Airbender and Parasite, The Gray, They're based on existing material.
We're seeing a trend here, aren't we? Adaptations of beloved stories from, well, books, manga, even video games. It's a testament to the power of these narratives, how they can transcend cultures and mediums.
And it raises the question, is Hollywood running out of original ideas? Or are we just finding new ways to reimagine those classic stories, but for a modern audience?
It's a great question, and one we could probably spend a whole other deep dive dissecting. But for now, let's move on to number 5, The Brother's Son. Now, this show, it promises a delightful mix of action and comedy.
Oh, and get this, the main character has this secret passion for, well, baking.
Yeah, baking. Now,
Yeah.
who doesn't love a good action comedy with a side of pastries?
The brother's son follows Charles, whose dad, he's a high-ranking member of the Taiwanese gang. When his dad gets attacked, Charles is thrown into the family business.
And that's where the fun begins.
Culture clashes, unexpected twists.
It's a wild ride.
And it's blending those elements of Eastern and Western cinema so well, you know? You've got the action of Hong Kong cinema, but with the humor and family dynamics of American comedies.
A fusion that I think will resonate with a lot of viewers.
Definitely, definitely. It's also a reminder that while there are cultural differences, there are also universal themes that connect us all.
Okay, now everyone get those tissues ready because number 4 on our list, well, it's a tearjerker. We're talking about One Day. This British romance, it's based on a best-selling novel, and it's already getting a lot of buzz.
For its emotional depth.
And how it explores love, loss, the complexities of human relationships. The premise is simple, but so powerful. It follows 2 friends, Emma and Dexter,
Over 2 decades.
catching up with them on the same day every year, July 15th. It's a beautifully done portrayal of how those relationships evolve over time.
How people change and grow.
And even how the deepest connections can be tested by those unexpected twists and turns that life throws our way. The movie adaptation, well, it didn't quite hit the mark, but this series, it seems to have really captured the heart of the story. It uses this simple premise to explore some really profound questions about fate, choice, the paths we take in life. It's a reminder that even the smallest decisions can have this ripple effect, shaping not only our own lives, but the lives of those around us too.
Absolutely. It's a show that stays with you long after you finish watching. Now let's move on to number 3, Griselda.
Starring Sofia Vergara.
This one is already sparking a lot of conversation, even some controversy.
It's a biographical crime drama, dives deep into the life of Griselda Blanco, the infamous godmother of cocaine,
It's a rags to riches story.
but one steeped in violence and brutality.
And that's where the controversy comes in, right? Some critics say it glamorizes her lifestyle. Others praise Vergara's performance and how the show explores this complex and fascinating figure.
It is a tricky balance, portraying someone so ruthless without glorifying their actions. It raises those questions about how we engage with true crime stories.
And the ethical considerations of bringing those real-life figures, especially ones involved in such dark and destructive activities, to the screen.
It's a conversation worth having.
Definitely, definitely. All right, on to number 2, The Gentleman. This spin-off of the Guy Ritchie film, well, it's already getting a reputation as one of his best. Wouldn't you say?
It has all those hallmarks of a classic Guy Ritchie film. Sharp dialogue, unexpected twists, and those larger-than-life characters.
And of course, that British wit and style. But what sets The Gentleman apart is its look at the British class system, that clash between old money and new money. It's not just gangsters and drugs, it's about power, privilege, and the lengths people go to hold on to their position.
It's where Guy Ritchie truly shines, I think. He can entertain while also offering that social commentary, making us think about the world in a new way.
Exactly, exactly. And finally, drumroll please, the #1 Netflix show of 2024 so far.
Ripley.
A psychological thriller based on Patricia Highsmith's novel, The Talented Mr. Ripley. This one is already getting rave reviews, and a lot of that is due to, well...
Andrew Scott's chilling performance as Tom Ripley.
Oh, he is brilliant in this role. He captures that duality of Tom Ripley, the charisma, the cunning, and that underlying darkness in a way that is both captivating and just, well, unsettling.
The show is visually stunning, too. It's set in the stylish world of 1960s New York and Italy. But it's not just about the aesthetics. It's a deep dive into the mind of a master manipulator, someone who will do whatever it takes to get what he wants.
And it's interesting, the show is filmed in black and white.
It adds this layer of timelessness and sophistication, I think. And it lets the filmmakers play with light and shadow, which just heightens the psychological tension, adds to that overall sense of unease.
It's like they're inviting you into this dark, glamorous world where nothing is quite what it seems. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from sci-fi mysteries to heartwarming romances, everything in between. This list really shows the incredible variety of what's available on Netflix. What are your initial thoughts? Anything jump out at you?
It is remarkable, the variety. Shows from all over the world, each exploring different themes and really pushing those boundaries of storytelling. It feels like, well, a golden age of television,
Oh,
where stories from every corner of the globe can find an audience. It's not just the sheer number of shows either.
yeah.
The quality, the craftsmanship, it's all there. You can see it, both in the writing and just how these shows are made.
Oh, yeah, totally. Streaming services, they're really investing in quality content, and I think, well, it's paying off. I feel like I'm constantly finding new shows that just blow me away. It's exciting to be a viewer right now.
Okay, before we get lost in the future of television, I want to go back to a couple of shows that really, really grabbed me. You know, those ones that make you go, wait, I need to watch that, like right now.
Yeah.
And one that definitely did that for me, The Gentleman. At number two, I mean, I'm already a huge fan of Guy Ritchie's films. The fact that he's brought his style to TV, perfection. The trailers alone had me hooked. But it's more than just a stylish crime drama, isn't it? It's got things to say about Britain, about how it's changing. You've got that clash between the old guard, the landed gentry, and then you have the new generation, the entrepreneurs, many of whom are from immigrant backgrounds.
And that's what makes it so interesting to me. It's not just the action, the witty dialogue, although there's plenty of that. It's about those deeper social and cultural dynamics, you know. It's a crime drama with something to say. Another one that really hooked me, Fool Me Once, with the wife and the nanny cam, the dead husband, the whole thing. I gotta admit, I'm a sucker for an unreliable narrator, and this show, well, it takes that to another level.
It makes you think about memory, how fragile it can be, and how we perceive things. It makes you wonder how much you can trust what you see, what you hear, even your own memories. In a world where we're always bombarded with information and manipulated by technology, I mean, that's a question that feels more relevant than ever, doesn't it?
Totally. It makes you think how much of what we believe is true is actually just, well, a carefully constructed story. And speaking of stories, let's talk about Baby Reindeer. Now, this one, it's not for everyone, that's for sure. But if you like those slow burn thrillers that get under your skin, well, this is one you shouldn't miss.
It's a masterclass in psychological suspense, wouldn't you say? It's not about jump scares or gore. It's about that feeling of being watched, of having your privacy invaded. And it's based on real experiences, which makes it even creepier.
It's a reminder that the scariest stories are often the ones that come from real life. Another theme we see on this list, that fascination with true crime. You've got Griselda, looking at the life of a drug lord, and Ripley, which, while fictional, plays on our fascination with con artists and criminals.
It's an interesting paradox, isn't it? We're horrified and captivated by these stories of people who live outside the rules, outside morality. I think it speaks to a human need to understand that darkness, the darkness in ourselves, in society.
Maybe it's a way to confront our own shadow selves, those parts we keep hidden. By watching these stories, we explore those dark impulses without actually having to act on them. Now, Ripley, I'm particularly intrigued by that one. Not just the story itself, but Andrew Scott. He's such a fantastic actor, I have a feeling he's going to bring something really special to the role.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Andrew Scott, he has this ability to convey charm and menace at the same time. Perfect for Tom Ripley.
Yeah.
And filming it in black and white adds to the atmosphere, don't you think?
Totally. It creates this world that's familiar but unsettling at the same time. A world where you never know who to trust.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's go back to something you mentioned earlier about the rise of international content. Why do you think we're seeing so many popular shows from all over the world these days?
I think it's a few things. Streaming services, they've really broken down those geographical barriers, making shows from everywhere accessible to a global audience. And viewers, I think, are looking for new perspectives, stories that challenge their worldview. We're finally realizing that great storytelling can come from anywhere, right? And social media, I think it plays a role too, connecting fans across borders, creating these communities around shared interests.
It's fantastic to see how fans from different cultures are connecting over these shows. It's proof that art can transcend boundaries and bring people together.
Okay, so we've talked about the shows, the trends, what they mean for entertainment, but I want to end this deep dive with a question for you, the listener. Out of all the shows we talked about, which one really grabbed your attention? Was it Griselda with those those complex moral questions it brings up? Or how about Fool Me Once with its exploration of memory and how we see things? Or maybe, just maybe, it was the sheer scale of three-body problem that got you hooked.
We're curious, what was it about that particular show that resonated with you? The premise, the genre, the actors, something else entirely.
It's like if you had to pick just one show from this whole list to recommend to a friend, which one would it be and why? We love hearing about what connects with different people.
It just goes to show there's truly something for everyone out there. And that's what makes this such an amazing time for television. So many stories, so many voices, so many worlds to explore.
It really is. It's like a buffet of entertainment, you know?
Hmm?
You can pick and choose what you like, but it's also more than just entertainment, right?
It is. These shows, they get people talking, they challenge how we think, they expand our understanding of, well, everything.
They offer glimpses into different cultures, different ways of life. And in a world that often feels so divided, that kind of connection is, well, it's more important now than ever, don't you think?
I agree.
So, as you head off on your next binge-watching adventure, we encourage you to be adventurous. Step outside that comfort zone. Embrace all the different stories out there just waiting to be discovered.
You might just find your next favorite show in a place you least expected, a show that takes you to a whole new world and makes you see things differently.
And on that note, we're wrapping up this deep dive into the top Netflix shows of 2024. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time for another fascinating look at something new. Until then, happy watching, everyone.